Hey guys, Luke here, and we are just about at the 2020 NRL Grand Final. Therefore, I thought it'd be fun if I went through and I did another tips and predictions video, a bit of a preview. Now, I've already done a video where I went over both sides and I talked about their season in general, where this one, I'm more talking about the actual game itself, who I think is going to win, giving a few predictions and stuff like that. So yeah, if you want to actually just hear me talk about the actual season itself, jump on the channel, search it up, write in Storm 2020 or something, it should come up. It's one of the videos before this one. Also, I did upload a video earlier this day, so go ahead and check that out. Made a combined 17 of both these sides, made the best team possible, at least my favourite team out of both sides, and I made a 17, jumped on the Rugby League Live 4 game, and I tried to win a game against the 2019 Roosters, obviously back-to-back premiers, so I went ahead and did that. So yeah, jump on that video, take a look at it, and watch this video as well. So now I have the intro out of the way, now it's time to talk about the actual grand final itself. So we have the Penrith Panthers, who finished in first position, up against the Melbourne Storm, who finished in second position. Now, realistically, this is the two best sides. Obviously, the Rabbitohs and a few other teams had good spells. And look, the top four, I mean, 3 and 4 bowed out pretty easily. But yeah, the Rabbitohs probably the best chance of making the grand final. And obviously the Raiders also... I say the top four bowed out pretty easily. I mean, the Eels were okay in the first game. They got a pretty good lead on the Storm at one stage, which was... I was like, oh, wow, Eels actually got the lead here. And also the Roosters, they tried hard. They went very, very close to beating both sides in the Panthers and the Raiders. Couldn't get the job done. But yeah, I think in terms of form... Penrith, Storm, they've been the benchmark all season, in particular Penrith. I mean, 17 games in a row. I say they're the benchmark. I mean, Storm aren't even close in terms of wins and losses and that sort of stuff. Yeah, if you're actually looking at the ladder, Penrith were well and truly the benchmark. Every other team so far below. But I mean, Storm are also a step above the rest of the side. So you had like, say if Storm were like tier 2, and then the rest of the teams were tier 3, and then you had Penrith in at tier 1. Penrith were just so much better than everyone throughout the regular season. You can't blame it on Origin or anything like that, which normally happens during the seasons. And because of the COVID stuff, you can maybe blame it on that, a shortened season. But there wasn't the normal sort of disruption. So generally, when Origin stuff comes around, say the Storm, they would lose like a whole bunch of players, and then they might not finish the minor premiers, but they'll still clearly the best team. Roosters come to mind as well, resting a lot of players, and half their side would end up in the New South Wales and Queensland sides. Whereas this year, there is no Origin, there was no distractions. Whoever came first was 100% the best team. So yeah, I think that's an interesting dynamic that doesn't get talked about enough. That this is probably the most accurate representation of first, second, third. Like the actual ladder represents the ladder properly, rather than this team had to rest players for like the middle part of the season, or this side was going good until Origin came and then they went to shit. I think that happens a lot. But Penrith, I think, yeah, like I said, they were the benchmark, and quite early on, I think it was very evident. You could just see them. They just have like a good team morale. Everything about them seems super positive, and I think that's what will suit them well in the grand final. I think they'll go into the grand final with no fear. At least, maybe they will. Maybe a little bit, because they haven't actually played an NRL Grand Final, but a lot of them played in lower grade Grand Finals, been at the NRL Grand Final, played in sort of the curtain raisers, but they've been there. I think most importantly, Nathan Cleary has played Origin. I feel like that's something that doesn't really get talked about. But yeah, he has played in a big game, and he's undefeated in terms of winning series as well. So even though he hasn't been like the superstar of State of Origin, he also hasn't lost. So I think that's what's special about this Panthers side, is they just have that winning mentality right from day dot. I know a lot of the players who are playing right now also were playing in previous years where they haven't been too hot, but that was like their first taste of NRL. Usually it takes a couple of years and then they get going. But you have guys like Jerome Luai and Crichton who haven't really played too much NRL. They've played a few games here and there. I think Crichton, he actually made his debut this year, but Jerome Luai, he's had a few chances here and there. He's played a bit of centre, a bit of time off the bench, a few games in the halves when I think Cleary was out injured and then Maloney was out injured. So he's played a few games and he's actually looked really good when he played them, but this is his first proper season as a first-grade NRL player, and I think he's brought a lot to the table. I know Nathan Cleary is going to receive a lot of the applause. I know Nathan Cleary is going to receive a lot of the credit, and 100% he does deserve a lot of the credit. He is the star of the show, but Jerome Luai is literally like the perfect 5'8" for him. I don't think you could chuck in any other 5'8" and have a better performer. I think Jerome Luai, he knows his role in the side. He knows he's not the superstar of the side. He knows he's a very good player. He probably thinks he has the ability to be a superstar, but right now he's okay with playing second field with Nathan Cleary. And I think that works perfectly because, I mean, if you chucked him in a halfback and said, hey, organise the side, maybe not so much. But for his role right now, it's sort of just play what's in front of you, do what you do best, just play some footy. I think that he's perfect for it, and he's had such a great season. You had an Api Coruscant, he's had such a big impact to this side. Just even if you look at the side compared to last year, I think they didn't make like a whole bunch of signings, but a lot of the signings they made were very, very good ones. Even guys like Kurt Capewell off the bench, quite versatile. I mean, he was getting a start at the Sharks, or if he wasn't getting a start, he was very unlucky. He was in amongst the Queensland side, so he's a very good signing. He's a very good person to bring off the bench, quite versatile. And yeah, Coruscant, I think he's the buy of the season. He's really transformed the side, and that's where the Panthers have struggled, and that's where a lot of teams struggle. They struggle with the hook position. There's not that many quality hookers out, and Coruscant was just about signed with the Bulldogs. As a Bulldog supporter, kills me to think that we could have had Coruscant, but we saw how Manly went without him. Manly definitely struggled, and then Panthers have obviously really, really thrived with him. So Coruscant, definitely a quality Drake. And add in the rest of the side, just very, very solid. You got your kick-outs and stuff. Even kick-out hasn't had like a super season. He's been injured a lot, been suspended, that sort of stuff. But he's someone who can have a big impact in the final. Now, where the Storm are good is they know how to put a game plan together. Craig Bellamy is perfect at putting a game plan together. He's perfect with tactics. I think I mentioned this before, I think back to the 2012 Grand Final, I was really paying attention because my Bulldogs took them on, and they were kind of like the Panthers that season. They sort of came out of nowhere, had Des Hasler running, pulling strings there. Benny Barber was killing it, kind of like Nathan Cleary at the moment. Had that one superstar player, they shut him down big time, and the Bulldogs were done. Even Bulldogs had this sort of revolutionary game plan that hadn't really been seen. In Craig Bellamy, he found a way. You add in Cooper Cronk, Billy Slater, Cameron Smith. Now, obviously, two of the three ain't there, but Cameron Smith is, and you would probably argue that Cameron Smith is the most important player out of those three anyways. And the rest of the side, I would say this is probably the best Melbourne Storm side we've actually seen as an overall team. You look at the Melbourne Storm, generally you kind of think of Melbourne Storm and you think it was the big three and a few plotters around them, a few journeymen, and the rest of them sort of made them look good. Whereas now, you look at the Melbourne Storm side, you've got Pappenhausen, who's probably going to play for New South Wales this year. You've got Adokar and Vunivalu. Vunivalu's a very, very good player, has won top try scorer multiple times, I think. You've got Adokar, New South Wales. Justin Olam, Papua New Guinean international, also was very unlucky to not win Centre of the Year. He's a very good player. You've got Branko Lee, who's on the cusp of a Queensland berth. You've got Munster. You've got the Bromwich boys, Jerome Hughes, even Brandon Smith. You bring a guy like Brandon Smith off the bench, as well as Finucane. Finucane's on the bench this week. So yeah, you've got a lot of really, really good players. So this Storm, I think, is unmatched in terms of them up against some of their previous Grand Final teams. And even some of the players, like, it's not like they've gone out and signed a whole bunch of players. Just a lot of those players who played in the Grand Final at the time were kind of just guys who had just gone into the side or, were still finding their feet in first grade, whereas now they're established. Your Christian Melchers and so those sort of guys. Now they're very experienced. Kenny Bromwich is another one. And they go into this game, they know what they got to do. That's what's scary about Melbourne Storm is that they have the experience and they also have the ability now. Whereas before it was kind of, they were getting carried by Cameron Smith, Billy Slater, etc., etc. Everything was sort of relying on them. Where now you can look at a Jerome Hughes and they can kind of rely on him. He can win the game for him. He's very capable. Cameron Munson, another one. Pappenhausen. Even, you, like I said, the bench guys. I think the Melbourne bench is absolutely phenomenal. Now, while I mentioned that, I will actually go through the lineups. I'll just go through it really briefly. I've got it up on my laptop at the moment. So we have, for Panthers, we have Edwards, Mansour, Naden, which is a talking point I will talk about. Stephen Crichton, Brian Tuo, Jerome Luai, Cleary, Tamu, Coruscant, Fisher Harris, Kickout, Lee Martin, and Isaiah Yeo is the captain. Tyrone May, Kurt Capewell, Moses Leota, and Zane Tenavano on the bench. And then the Storm, they have Pappenhausen, Vunivalu, Branko Lee, Olam, Adokar, Munster, Hughes, Bromwich, or Jesse Bromwich that is, Cameron Smith, Christian Welsh, Kafusi, Kenny Bromwich. Then we have Asafa Solomona at lock. The bench is Smith, Tino, I'll just say Tino, I can't say his last name. Then we have Finucane and Nico Hines. So what really impresses me is the Storm bench, and that's where I think they have the real edge over Penrith. Penrith, I'm just looking at their bench now, like your Kate Wells, I like Kate Well, but you got Tyrone May, who probably will end up starting. That's a big talking point as well, is whether Tyrone May is going to start or is he going to come off the bench. Last week, they brought him on to start at centre, and I think, considering who he was up against, and I think the Storm, I think they're probably better off doing the same thing. If they think that Brent Naden is a defensive liability, I think it's a no-brainer to put in Tyrone May if you think his defence is up to scratch, and which they obviously do based off last week. They chucked him in there, he did a fairly good job. But if a centre is a weakness, Storm are definitely not the team to take a chance on. You got Olam, you got Branko Lee. Branko Lee's brilliant with the ball. I'm not even sure which side Naden's on, to be honest with you. I've just been real with you. But whether it's Olam or Branko Lee, both are brilliant with the ball and both can do some damage. So if you're worried about Naden being out of position, this is probably the game to not start him. It's just a matter of, if you don't start him, then where do you put him? He's played all season. He's been scoring tries for fun. And it seems so unfair to play all these games, get to the grand final and get dropped for that. But last week, they chucked him on the bench and they never even got him on the field. So it's like, do you have a bit of a passenger in a grand final? Especially a grand final where players in the past talk about how gassed they are, how fast it is, how tired they were. And then, if that's going to happen, do they risk having a centre on the bench who can only really play centre or wing or positions like that? I suppose they could shift players, but who do you even shift? Looking at their backs, they can't really shift anyone. So they've got Kurt Capewell as their utility. Do they really need Brent Naden? But yeah, I don't know who you'd put on there anyways. Is Mitch Kenny, Lee New, maybe you can chuck him on there, but it's not like the rest of their bench is outstanding as well. You've got Matt Burton there, who is probably on the move to the Bulldogs, it seems, but he's also a half. So if you're going to have another person on there, Kurt Capewell's utility, so you're not going to chuck a half on there as well. So you may as well have Brent Naden on there. At least he can cover the backs perfectly, and then you can just play Capewell as a forward, just an out-and-out forward. But yeah, realistically, I think Brent Naden, he could start. I just saw that he's actually on the right edge. He's up against Olam, which I think is a big... it is a worry for me, and it definitely is something that Melbourne could take advantage of. But look, I think if Penrith... if they want to win the grand final, they need to just back him. I think they've done it all season. They didn't do it last week, and I think they got lucky with it. I think they've done it all season. If they couldn't rate him that badly if they've played him all season. So why would you go into the grand final sort of swapping and changing things that'll work for you all year? So that's how I kind of look at it, and I think that's how Penrith actually will. I can see them just playing him there, starting him there, seeing how it goes. Look, if he's getting torn up, take him off. But I think you got to give him a go. Give him a first crack and just hope that he has a great game. So I've been talking about Penrith, I've been talking about Melbourne. I've kind of just been talking vaguely about them, talking about them in general. Now I'm going to start talking about some actual predictions. So, look, I think for first try scorer, I think Melbourne might score the first try. I was tossing and turning about this one, honestly. Look, the first try scorers, they're so hard. It's really hard, especially in a game like this where the game could go either way. Maybe if you're having first against Wooden Spoon or something, you just know that first is going to win it. If it was Penrith up against Broncos, you're like, yeah, well, Penrith's going to score the first try, obviously. But this one, it could go either way. But I think whoever actually scores the first try will actually be quite important, and I think it will set the tone for the game. Now, if Penrith score it, I think Penrith might go on and win it. That's how much I value this first try in terms of this game. If Penrith score it, I think it just keeps their confidence going. Whereas if Melbourne scores it, I think Penrith start to get a little bit worried, because Penrith are a big confidence side. That's what I think. They're a big confidence side. If anything goes good, you see Jerome Luai and a whole bunch of the players get it around and pat each other on back. They'll talk some shit. So if Penrith can score the first try, you know they'll be in the face of the Melbourne side. You know they'll be rubbing their hair and doing that sort of stuff, talking some smack, and they'll be talking up their own players, getting them more hyped, getting excited. And I think that's really good for Penrith. I think they need to keep doing that. They need to keep the energy really good. But the problem is, if Storm do that, I can see them going, oh shit, we haven't really been in this position too often. I know Rabbitoh scored last week early, and honestly, I was like, well, this should be a test for him. But the problem was Rabbitohs then backed it up by dropping the ball very, very, very quickly, and then it gave Panthers a chance. Whereas I don't see the Storm doing that. I think if the Storm can get a lead, I think they will sort of pile on the pressure. That's what Rabbitohs failed to do. That's what I thought the Rabbitohs were going to do. It didn't happen, so we didn't really get to see Penrith under too much pressure. Just that first try, and then they kind of had the lead from then on. Whereas the Storm, if they get a lead, they're going to be so hard to chase down. They're sort of known for being hard to chase down. You can't really think back of too many times where the Storm have had a lead and you go, oh, well, this team reeled them in. It just doesn't really happen. So, look, if Storm can get the first try scorer, I think they go with it, and the same can be said for Penrith. Actually, even if Penrith get it, I think the Storm are capable of reeling them in. As long as they keep them in arm's distance, keep it in six points or so, I think Storm are definitely a chance going into the back end of it. But I think the further you get in a grand final game, I don't know, not experience, but it sort of takes out the energy of it. Like, definitely fatigue will be a factor. But we keep talking about the experience of the Melbourne Storm, but I feel like the experience, it's more in the lead up and how you prepare for it. And if Panthers can have the lead going for most of the game, I think that won't really be a factor, the whole experience stuff, because they won't be tired. Well, they will be tired, but they won't have that constant pressure of chasing the Storm and, we're running out of time. So they'll be a lot more confident, probably a lot more, not restricted is probably the word I'm looking for. So, yeah, I think if Panthers can get the first try scorer, it'd be great for them. But honestly, my prediction is the Storm will score the first try. And I'm going to go Kenny Bromwich. I think the Storm are synonymous for having second rowers scoring tries. You had Ryan Hoffman, you've had Proctor and Harris and a few of those sort of guys. And Kenny Bromwich fits the mould as well. I think he'll be a sneaky one to score the first try scorer. I think they'll have a bit of a set play probably for him, close to the line. I'm just thinking back once again to that 2012 Grand Final. Ryan Hoffman went over, and he was great for scoring tries. Kenny Bromwich, I'm not sure what his try scoring record is, but he's kind of one of the more sort of agile second rowers in the game. And I think they can honestly sort of target the second row of the Panthers. They're not super experienced either. Plus, as good as Kikau is, he's a big guy. And even Liam Martin as well. He's kind of an inexperienced guy as well. So if they can get a chance early on, I think Kenny Bromwich will be able to do it. In terms of the actual score overall, like I said, if Storm were to score the first try, I can see them going on and winning it. So I've just predicted them to score the first try. Therefore, I'm kind of predicting the Storm I am predicting the Storm to go ahead and win this game. I think Penrith will score a couple tries. I think maybe 10 points, maybe even 12. I think the final score, I originally was going to say 20-10, but I think it'll be 20-12. I think Penrith won't ever be completely out of the game, but I think Storm will be able to get a comfortable enough lead where they can just defend it. There'll always kind of be the threat of Penrith, like if they can score another try, they get the momentum going. But I think Storm are great at sort of combating that, and sort of when the momentum starts to shift, they can shut that down. They can shut it down pretty well, and they can kill it off. And I feel like it will sort of be a game where Storm maybe get to like a 10-point lead or so, and then Penrith might score one, and then Storm will score another one. As soon as Penrith get a little bit close, Storm will just take a few steps further and get away a little bit. I can see it sort of being a game like that. So it'd be a super close one. But yeah, I can see the Storm getting the win. Leave in the comment section below, guys. Who do you think is going to win? Who do you think is going to get the first try scorer? Who do you think is going to win? Also, I should talk about Clive Churchill. For me, if Storm win, literally, like, no matter what the result is, as long as Cameron Smith plays half decent and no one else is just absolutely dominant. Like, if they won 40-0 and Cameron Munster scored like 5 tries, I mean, obviously you got to give it to like Munster. But I think if they win, Cameron Smith will get it. Especially with all the talk of it being his final game. So I could see them happening. It's very much not kind of like Dally M's, you know. Cameron Smith is the Storm. He's the most influential player. So therefore, if they win, they're probably just going to give it to him anyways. They've done it in the past, similar to that Sam Burgess. You know, he wasn't the best player on the field, but he was the Rabbitohs. He got it for him. That's just the first one that comes to mind. But yeah, I can see the Storm winning and then Cameron Smith getting it. But like I said, I can see the actual best player on the field being a guy like Jerome Hughes, being a Cameron Munster. Look, if Storm can get some momentum, I can see them running right, and then I can see the Panthers, all their confidence sort of getting drained out of them. And not that they give up, but it kind of does tend to happen. You can see a blow-up maybe happening. I don't really know. I'm kind of tossing and turning. Swapping and changing is probably the more the word, but I'm just saying how close it's going to be. But if you get to the end of the game, well, at least I don't know what the actual scoreline will be. I'll say it will be close for the majority of the game, but I can see whoever wins end up sort of going on and winning by a bit of a margin, but it kind of like a margin where you look at it and you go, that doesn't reflect the actual game. I think it'll be a great tussle. Maybe someone will run away with it in the end. But yeah, my prediction for Clive Churchill, Cameron Smith, like I said earlier, leave in the comment section below. Who is your premiers for 2020? Who's going to get the victory? Who's going to get first try scorer? And who is going to get the Clive Churchill? Righto guys, that's all I really got to say. Those are my predictions. Hopefully you did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you go ahead and smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Also make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's on the screen right now. My whole social media is on the screen right now. My Facebook is there. My Snapchat is also Mr. Luke on YT. Same what's on the screen right now. Same as my Instagram. It's an easy way to find it. Just give me a follow on that or give me an ad on that. Post on that a fair bit. But yeah, that's all I really got to say. Grand final tomorrow. Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. It's all I've been talking about all week. So I can't wait for this game to happen. And I'm keen to see who wins. No matter who wins this one, it's going to be a great story. It's going to be Penrith setting the record for most wins and also win the premiership. Or Cameron Smith wins, potentially retiring, and the Storm get another premiership to add to their dynasty. So either way, it's just going to be a fantastic game. You can just tell already. It's just going to be so good. So I'm very, very excited. And yeah, stay tuned. I'm going to upload a video tomorrow, hopefully. Probably going to be doing some reviews of the grand final as well. So stay tuned on the channel. We also have State of Origin coming up. So yeah, definitely make sure you subscribe, turn the notifications on so you know when I upload immediately. And yeah, so I'm going to end this video. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.